So I want to begin today by telling you guys about a story. I was in my third grade when my classroom teacher walked into the class, and she said, "I'm going to tell you a story today." He started telling us about this Buddhist monk who walked into a classroom similar to ours and wrote on the blackboard, "Everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to help mother wash dishes." Now, I didn't think much of the sentence at that time. Very honestly, I was more focused on the recess that was supposed to follow. But as the years went by, this sentence came to me in times of frustration when things didn't go according to my plan or things didn't go how I planned them to be. When we think of change makers, leaders, innovators, or people who have left a mark throughout their history, they didn't begin with a big bang. They started doing things with a small act. They started solving problems that nobody wanted to solve. They started by showing up simply where it mattered. For us, we think that success means hitting a million followers mark. For us, we think success means doing a big startup. But it often results in us beginning with a simple step. Let me talk about myself. When I began my journey, be it with political consulting, be it with policy decision making, or within my own entrepreneurship journey, every single step began with this principle of mine, that change begins with a single step. Change begins with getting involved. Through my journey, I have come to learn 5 important lessons. And those lessons, I would like to share them with you here today. Number 1, real change is often quiet. When you think about this sentence, I want you to ruminate on this for a moment here. Because when we think, or rather what we've been conditioned to these days, is that real change is about hashtags, influencers, or making a loud noise across the space. But real change happens or it brews quietly long before the spotlight finds it. I have 3 examples for this. The first one would be the Padma awardees that we've been seeing over the past 5 years. Tell me how many of you actually heard of their name before they were called onto the stage? Some of them were working in the rural areas with women. Some of them were helping students crack government exams. Some of them were building self-help groups. A popular example again would be Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan did not happen overnight because of a hashtag campaign that was run by the government. It happened because 100 million young Indians took up the brooms in their hand and decided that they wanted their country to be clean. And what did that result into? It resulted in toilets being built in every district of India. It resulted in rural sanitation jumping from 39% to 100% by 2023. This is the change that I'm talking about. When I talk about myself, my proudest moments were not advising a cabinet minister. My proudest moments were not working on a scheme for the laborers of this country. My proudest moments have been the first step that I took by just deciding to join a course that would steer me towards this journey, or working with a young student, helping them finalize their policy draft. And that brings me to my lesson number 2. Growing up is not comfortable. Growth is often uncomfortable because if you are in your comfort space, you're not taking on challenges, you're not pushing yourself to the boundaries, and that often leads you to complacency. And what does complacency lead you to? You never evolve. When we speak of growth or when we speak of discomfort, I want to actually, you know what? The best example is around us. We're in the city of Mumbai. No matter what the world has thrown at Mumbai, be it floods, be it the dug-up roads outside our colleges, or be it terrorism, Mumbai has never slept. It always got up and got back to work the next day. You had people going to work, you had vendors coming back to the streets, you had the traffic on the roads again. Bruised, but not broken. This is the example that we need to learn from. When I talk about my own journey, I decided to take the step of leaving political consultancy after having spent considerable time in that space, building strategies, building networks. Now that was an extremely tough decision for me, whether to stay in this space and let myself be limited here, or whether to force myself out of this and go on to make the policy space and the entrepreneurship space. It was a tough decision which required me to think a lot. But now that I did, I am very happy to say that I am someone at the age of 26 who was able to contribute to 2 national policies that exist here and to have started my own startup. See, guys, what we need to realize is that ego demands recognition, but humility, it demands impact. And that is a principle that we need to live with. Now, that brings me to my third lesson. My third lesson is that letting go is the hardest part to do. Now, what does this mean? As we move on through life, we are attached to a lot of identities, we are attached to a lot of positions, and we are attached to a lot of decisions that we have taken. And letting go of those decisions often becomes the toughest thing to do out there. What does this mean? A very wise person had once said to me that an individual should never get attached to his identities because we shed identities like animals shed their skins. When I talk about identities, I don't mean you as an individual. For example, the TEDx team here, I am sure there must be a hierarchy that is followed. The TEDx head will not be a TEDx head again next year, but that doesn't mean that the change that they left behind is forgotten. They simply shed that identity and moved on to a better role. When we stay in our comfort zone, when we stay within our identities, we often choose to ignore what could be possible for us or what could make our life change. A very beautiful example of that would be the Digital India Initiative. Today, how many of us use smartphones? Almost everybody, I'm assuming. Now tell me how many of your house helps use phones? Again, I would believe almost everybody. Now, bringing the Digital India Initiative to rural places in India did not happen overnight. It happened because young Indians like you and me decided to make that change. We decided to start coding, building new apps, and getting people more aware about it. Because trust me when I tell you this, when the way our nation works on the internet, or how heavily dependent we are on the internet in terms of our payment, banking, or any other service, a lot of other countries have not been able to catch up to, even the developed ones. For me personally, letting go was very difficult in the sense when I moved from policy making to my own startup. Now, policy making was again something that I got comfortable in. I do still work in that space. But when I started work on my startup, which is a digital media startup, I knew nothing of SEO, marketing, or Facebook ads, or anything of that sort. But I had to push myself to learn, to ask stupid questions, to learn from mentors who knew more than me. And that finally gave me the courage to take that step, to let go of my previous identities and to take that leap forward. That brings me to my final and last lesson, which is probably the most important. The choice is yours. Every day we are faced with a fork in the road. Will you take this decision or will you stay comfortable? Will you evolve or will you stay in the same place that you are? Will you dream of Viksit Bharat or will you build Viksit Bharat? See, every time we don't make a choice or we think it is something that is best left to fate, we're avoiding what could be in front of us. I want you to think back to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He never waited for India to grow. He never waited for the world to evolve. From classroom to missile labs, his work has now shaped an entire generation of young Indians. That brings us to an idea that change happens with every single individual present in this room. Change will happen when you evolve and you choose to make a decision. So I don't want to say a task, but I would rather say a challenge to every young Indian present in this room is that start making change around yourself. Tutor a kid, join a local council, petition to get your roads fixed outside your college. Once you begin involving yourself in these challenges is when you will start seeing you grow. And now that I think about it, maybe the monk was right. We don't need to change the world. Maybe we should just start by washing the dishes. Thank you very much.